Welcome back to Finding Passion and Purpose, your path to spiritual growth. I'm your host, Heather Baldwin, and today's guest is someone who speaks directly to my heart and what this podcast is about. I'm honored to welcome Pia. Can you say your last name, please?
I'll keep it short. Pia Leichter. I have
There you
several, but that's
go.
the short version. Oh, it's so nice to be here, Heather. Thank you so much
Yes.
for having me.
Yeah. So your story is just like I said in our previous little conversation. Like I feel like we're walking parallel paths. And so your book is amazing. So let's just start with, you know, how did you come up with the idea and what sparked you into beginning to write this book? And tell me the how.
Sure. Well, well, it's really interesting because I didn't know what I was going to write about. So I always thought, like, if, when an author had a book in mind, they had an outline, they had clarity, they knew exactly what it was going to be. And I think that idea kept me from writing a book because I'm like, well, I don't know. It's not outlined. I'm not
It
sure.
sounds scary.
Yeah, exactly. So when I got a call from the founder of a hybrid publisher who was fantastic, very talented, and also a wonderful salesperson, and he reached out to me and he said, "Have you ever thought of writing a book?" And I thought, "Yeah, I've thought about it, but I have no idea what it would be." He's like, "That's not a problem. You don't have to know. That's part of the process, and we have editors that will work with you." And I don't know, it just turned on the light bulb of possibility. Like, oh, maybe I don't need to have it all figured out first. And of course, it also gave me a case of the wobbles because it's a big investment on many levels. And it's like, am I going to
Right.
really, am I going to do this? And then it didn't take me long. It took me maybe 24 hours to make a decision because if not now, when? It was like
Yeah.
the opportunity was presenting itself to me. But here's the funny thing, Heather, because you asked about the book. About a year and a half before I started writing my book, I felt called to start a newsletter. Again, I didn't know exactly what the newsletter would be about, what I would share, but it just felt like I want to have deeper conversations in community and I want to share my
Right.
experiences and journey. It's called The Shift. And when I started writing my book, I realized that some of the themes and the topics that I gravitated naturally, toward in my newsletter were just deepening in the writing of my book. So the what I'd love to impart or share is that sometimes things don't always make sense. Like we might feel called to
Right.
do something. It's like newsletter. Why am I gonna? What am I? Oh
Yeah.
no, but it feels important for some reason. And
Right.
sometimes there's something to gain, even if we might not see the immediate result of something.
Right.
So to
Yeah.
trust that gut feel, to trust what's pulling you and just answer and say, like, why not? Let me try it. Let me do this thing. Plus, it was a rewarding process. So, in a way, the book had already started writing itself when I
Yes.
was without me realizing it. At least some of the themes are creating clarity on like what's important to me and what am I drawn to write about and to explore. So
Right.
that's the story of what brought me to my book.
Nice. Yeah. So your book is called Welcome to the Creative Club. So, and in the book, you're saying that everyone is creative. There's not just a few of us that are creative. So, why do you think that so many people are still believe that they're not creative?
I think because creativity has become synonymous with artistic expression,
Mhm.
which is definitely a huge part of creativity. Artists, dancers, musicians, painters, sculptors, etc. But that's just one facet of creativity.
Mhm.
Right. So
Right.
creativity is also science is immensely creative. Crime
Mhm.
is creative. How we move
Yeah.
through the world and express ourselves in the multitude of unique ways that we do as the individuals we are is phenomenally creative. How we come up with novel, original, delightful, and useful solutions to everyday challenges is creative. And
Right.
so I think that's what stops us is we have this idea of what being creative is. And then it becomes internalized with like, oh, well, I guess I'm not the creative type then. And I think that belief is what ends up stopping us from really accessing and applying our creativity in everything we do. And I wanted to smash that to
Yes,
invite
yes.
everyone into their innate creativity.
Yeah, because that's what drew me to you was like, I'm like, she is on like the same path as me, but and I'm calling it purpose and passion, and you're calling it creativity. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's like totally all creative. Anything that we manifest or come up with our mind is creative. And I wish more people would just like embody that. So
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think some people, sometimes you might have trouble embodying that because there's a risk involved,
Hmm.
right? When we claim our creativity or we go after passion and purpose or follow it, it's really meaningful to us, whatever it is we're about to create. And so
Right,
there's a risk of failure, or there's a risk of ridicule, there's a risk of rejection, of it not working out. And so sometimes it could be safer not to do or create the
right,
thing. But
right,
yeah, but I would invite us also to look at what might be possible if we create the thing. Like we don't know, it's unknown. So yes, all of those things are possible, but you
right.
might also be, wildly successful beyond our biggest imagination, of what we could imagine. And it
Yeah,
you
not
might work
like
out in
yeah, not like the, well, what if this happens?
yeah,
Well, let's put it back on the positive spectrum.
exactly.
What if this happens? Like, what is
Exactly.
possible? So, yeah, you put a lot of creativity into your book, and so how has it helped you heal and grow in your journey here?
It's so funny because when I set out to write the book, I had no idea I was embarking on like a transformative healing journey for myself. That wasn't the intention, or I didn't even consider that as a possibility.
Right.
But writing the book is part memoir, part guide, part gentle rebellion. And the memoir part is what felt healing and transformative because being able to rewrite our story from the point of view of the woman or person we are today is incredibly healing.
Oh, yeah.
You can it was just, I mean, I was not expecting that, especially writing about my divorce. There was a chapter, my only pure memoir chapter is about my divorce because my editor was like, "You can't mention your divorce and not write about it." Like,
Right.
I mean, you can, but it's going to feel extremely unsatisfying and it's not going to connect really to the story or the reader in the way you want to. So, you either take it out completely or you talk about it. And it was part of my story, so I couldn't just censor, take it out. And so I wrote about it. When I wrote about it, I was still writing through the lens of a past version of myself. So my editor was like, after reading the first draft, this doesn't sound like the woman in front of me. This doesn't sound like the age of the woman who's here and who's writing this book. This sounds older. It lacks compassion
Yeah.
and it lacks insight. Like, and having someone witness me and be able to reflect that insight back at me, she was
Mhm.
right. Of like, oh, I'm still looking at this event, this divorce, through the eyes of a younger self who still kind of, have some shame and blame in it, you
Right.
know, rather
Right.
than the more, I don't know if the word is evolved. I don't really like that word, but I can't think of a better one.
Yeah.
The more conscious, let's say that more conscious woman
Yeah.
that I am today, who, yeah, of course, if I was looking back at that with these eyes, and also with myself and compassion, I can see like, yeah, I messed up, but I could also trust that I didn't know how to do it differently at that time. And I could still
Right.
trust that I got myself out of a situation a part of me knew I needed to get out of. And she
Right.
really helped me see that. So that's just to add some color and texture to answer your question.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that at all. That actually blew me away. Like, whoa, I'm still looking at it through those eyes. And I think it's interesting to ask ourselves, like, what else might we still be looking at through an old,
Right.
outdated lens that kind of
Right.
blocks us from really integrating or healing in many ways.
Yeah. Like sometimes we romanticize kind of about these past events that have framed us, and we fail to see what the lessons were that we learned in these past moments. And when we can get to that point, I think that's when it's like, oh, like, okay, we can have more compassion for ourselves, and we can grow and evolve and be like, oh, this really, chiseled away things that needed to be chiseled away to evolve me to where I am now, kind of thing. So
Yes.
you've lived so many creative lives. You've been a journalist, a documentarian, creative director, now a coach and an author. So how did you learn to like embrace all these pivots inside, and like, and did you fear them? Were they scary? Or were
Well,
you
here,
a dive in, let's do it?
I think it was more of a dive in because you see, I'm a recovering nomad. I moved my whole life. I went to 8 different elementary schools and 8 different high schools. So chaos, creativity, and change were kind of like the name of the game for me. It was just what I knew growing up. So I think those pivots just became almost the default or just a natural part of life. Like we move, we change, we create ourselves anew. Or we create a new world. We move, we change, we create a new world. And it also, in many ways, made me feel alive. It's like all cylinders firing when all of a sudden you're in either a brand new environment or you're doing something for the first time or you're recreating yourself in a way and what you do. So, interestingly enough, it just felt more natural to me.
Yeah, I can see that because so I'm kind of the opposite. Like I'm from a small town. I live close to my small town still. I
Mm.
haven't branched out a lot. Um and so I have run into a lot of people who are, from similar backgrounds where change is super scary because they just have never done it.
Mm.
And so like me doing this podcast, I would have never thought even 2 years ago that I would be interviewing people on my podcast. I had nothing to do, it was not even a thought in my mind. And when I got some inquiries like in my email box, I'm like, my intuition said, yes, let's do it. So it's like jump into the scary. If your gut is like, yeah, why not? Like, embrace the scary parts. And like you said, you can create new things, you get new relationships, it's amazing. So I love that.
Absolutely. I used to pine for what you have. I used to dream of having the family house that I grew up in, that I could go visit with my room the same, and growing up with the same kind of group of people and having friends. Well, now I have friends because I'm older for like 30 years ago. But, when I was younger, having like that long red thread
Right.
my life. But it's also about acceptance, and it's a part of what I was, I guess, part of my fabric. I'm part of the
Mhm.
it's part of my stitch and weave. And um interestingly enough, I've been learning how to anchor and create roots here in Copenhagen, of all places, since I moved here 15 years ago. And this has been the longest place I've lived consecutively. And that to me was the new adventure. It was like, oh, I've never done this before. I have no idea what it's like to anchor and connect deeply with myself in one place, with other people in that one place, with a particular city for a long period of time. And I feed my urge to explore and to wander by traveling, but the difference is I'm not really running to or from something. I'm actually just exploring. And that's also, there's a different energy behind it too.
Right. So in your book, there's poetry, neuroscience, and soul woven in. So how did you balance both the science and the spirit while writing?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Um, well, the considerate for me, I wanted to create different doorways into creativity and into I wanted to create different invitations for different types of people to step into their own creative power.
Yes.
And so for me, it was important. I mean, some people respond differently to very different things. So, we know this. So
Mm.
research and being able to anchor it in neuroscience and say, hey, don't take my word for it. Like, my
Right.
experience has shown me this. But, if you look at the science, you can see that we are, born creative. We are natural born creatives. We are, if you're a human, you're an artist at play. And this is a science that shows that and supports that because some people might need that. And so it was also, I think that's what I had in mind. It was more like, how do I create different doors for different types of people to walk back to their creativity through, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes.
And
Um,
then, sorry, go
that
ahead.
sparks, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she quotes her rabbi that always says, "We are creators because we are a piece of the creator." And that
Mm,
always, like, sticks with me, like, yes, that just resonates so much.
absolutely. I love that. It's a beautiful quote.
So, if listeners walk away with one message from this conversation, what would you hope that it would be?
Ooh, that you are the creative director of your life. You are creatively directing the scenes, the set design, the score. You're writing the script, or you're deciding which script you want to follow or rewrite. You're creating your experience.
Yeah,
And the beauty of that is you can do it in small ways because sometimes I can feel like, what creative director of my life? Where am I going to? Is it what I need a 5-year plan and I need the whole story. No,
right,
don't need the whole story. It even is in like the small, beautiful moments of, ooh, okay, I'm going to creatively direct the next scene. The next scene is I'm going to put on my favorite playlist and dance in the kitchen and drink a mocha latte. And actually, not a mocha, a matcha latte. And and I'm going to wear my favorite red Rolling Stone t-shirt and whatever it might be. Like, and I'm going
right,
to choose to believe that life is working for me and with me and not against me. And I'm going to choose to believe I can rest in this moment, that I can dance. And I'm going to choose to believe that my value is just by me being. Like we can, you know, and I'm going to prove it by dancing instead of, getting to my to-do list. So it's like we
right,
always get the chance to choose what we believe, what's guiding us, and how we want to be. And we are always at choice. We always get to choose. So my
yeah,
question to your listeners is like, well, what are you choosing to create next?
right, exactly. It's all about choice, always choice. So, where can my listeners find Welcome to the Creative Club and follow your work?
Well, my website, collective.studio, spelled in a funny Danish way, collective, but put it in the show notes, is
Oh,
where everything is found. So you can find my book, more about how we might creatively collaborate, more about Collective Studio, about me. But the book is available on Amazon, bookshop.org,
on
Barnes and Noble.
Audible, I love that.
Yes, and now Audible just recently released. Actually, I didn't even do like I did a soft launch. The hard launch is coming next week, so I'm
Oh, good.
glad you
I
found
was
it.
Yeah, I was so glad because 'cause I'm an Audible girl, and I was like, "Yes, it's on Audible."
Great, yeah, it was just released. So
Awesome. So, I wanna thank you so much for being here and sharing not just your wisdom, but your soul, and, your journey is a beautiful reminder that creativity isn't just being perfect, it's about being present, and
woo!
that living our truth out loud is the most radical art of all. So, to everyone listening, if this conversation lit a creative spark in you, don't ignore it. Let it guide you, nurture you, and expand you. Remember, you are the art, you are the your life's masterpiece. And be sure to grab a copy of Pia's book, Welcome to the Creative Club. And I will put everything in the show notes, follow her work. And so until next time, stay inspired, stay aligned, and keep creating your life on purpose.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, thanks, Pia.
Thank you, Heather.
Let's